am. Oh, there we go. So we are recording this meeting, and if anything happens that you need to get off, or if your connection isn't as good as you want it to be, you will have you can have an opportunity to listen to it later as well. But if you stay on, you can have a chance to ask your questions too. I am Cheri Harris. I'm the Certification Program Director and a legal consultant for the Indiana State Library. And most of you probably know Cheri Cleveland. She is Professional Development Office Supervisor here at the Indiana State Library. There is one more person I want to introduce today, and that is Jeremy Murray. He is Application System Analyst, and he is our programmer in Management Information Services here at the State Library. This project was a collaboration between Jeremy, who did the hard work, and me, who tried to understand what he was doing, or at least the end result of it. I want to start by telling you just a little bit about what Jeremy has done on this project. In short, everything. He has been patient with my complete inexperience with this sort of a launch, and my endless questions and requests, and my difficulty describing anything in technical terms. Most of you are probably familiar with the terms digital native and digital immigrant. Well, like some of you, I am a classic digital immigrant. So my question was always, how can I print this out? And his answer was usually a question: why would you want to print this out? I am mentioning all this in part to illustrate my understanding and appreciation for the fact that for some of us, as it is for me, a struggle to adapt to a new system. So you don't have to worry about apologizing if this isn't your strong suit. It's really not my strong suit either, but because I get to deal with it, work in the system pretty much every day, I am learning pretty well how to use it. And so that's why I'm going to demonstrate it. But the other reason I bring it up is so that to help you decide when to address a question to me versus when to open a help desk ticket. And I'm going to show you how to do both of those in a moment. But just before we open the portal and start the tour of it, I wanted to make sure that those of you who use this program and will be using this program if you haven't yet, have a chance to thank Jeremy for being so good at his job. We are very lucky to have him. And I think if people want to unmute for a second and kind of shout out your praise, or clap, or however you want to do that, let's show Jeremy some noisy appreciation, if you will. Yay, Jeremy.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeremy.
Way to go, Jeremy.
Thank you, Jeremy.
All right. Well, he deserves that. So now that we have made some noise, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and mute yourselves. We have so many more people than I expected, which is fabulous. And I want to allow for participation, and at the same time, this is a big group, so it will help a lot if we can cut down on background noise by keeping the mic mute. You can type questions into the comments at any time, and we will address them as we go, or we will address them at the end when we reach our question and answer segment. And we also can follow up with answers that we don't get to. Also, you can always send us questions, whether it's before, during, or after this program. So with that, we are going to start our tour, and I'll give you just a brief overview of what we're going to do. I'm going to talk just a little bit about background. Kara is going to be my Carol Merrill, if any of you understand that reference. She's going to show on the screen the things I'm talking about, and she will be also has graciously agreed to be our guinea pig and actually show you in the system how to do certain things. And then we are going to do a tour of the portal. We're going to start from outside of the portal. We're going to start with how to get to the portal, and then we're going to show what you can do outside the portal before you log in, and then logging in and what you can do in the portal. And hopefully we'll just move right through all of that. So starting with the background, the State Library launched the new portal, Certification for Indiana Librarians, on July 1st, 2021. So that was just 3 months ago. So far, 589 site users have accessed the portal, at least as of yesterday, and have used the password recovery function, which is the way that you set up your initial password within the portal, which is a good reminder that for those of you who had logged into the previous database that we had through the professional licensing agency, none of those passwords were carried over at all. So you can use the same password in this portal, but it won't know that until you actually create your first password. So you will have to start with the process of creating a new password. Online renewals for the first 3 months the portal has been open have been by month, 50% in July, 46% in August, and 67% so far this month. I think we might have a little competition between renewals that I do and renewals that you do this afternoon after this program, though. So we'll see who ultimately comes out ahead on that. And those percentages account for 25 out of 47 people who have renewed their certificates so far this month. So why a new portal? We have for many, many years used PLA, worked with PLA. We put the information into their system, and for a cost that became a pretty steep cost at times recently, they maintained that database. They made changes to the functioning of that database. And they printed out your notices, your certificates, and your audit letters, and they sent them to you by US mail. When they managed a system that was designed to serve 40 or more agencies and address the needs of everything from doctor and nurse registries to geologists and soil scientists and even cosmeticians. So some of you who were cosmeticians before you became librarians, I might have seen that license when I went to put you into our librarian system. Well, we don't really need to know all the information about all the, or even collect all the information that all the other professional groups do. And so we actually switched to creating our own system, and it allows us so much more control. The information is ours, the system is ours. We can expand it if and when we want to, and we can resolve your issues directly instead of acting as a go-between between you and PLA. Another issue was that when their login started allowing people to use social security number and date of birth to log in, our people started trying to do that, even though we would never ask for that information. We, in fact, don't want it. We don't want to store it. We don't want to keep it. So this system is never going to ask for that information or appear to be asking for that information. So hopefully it is actually going to make things better for us and for you when you use it in many ways. So we're going to start now with the tour of the portal. And Kara, if you would show us your desktop and how we get to the portal from ISL's main website page. And you'll need to, there you go.
Yeah. Can you see it okay?
I'm seeing a blue screen right now.
Oh, hang on.
I saw it for 1 second.
I moved it.
Oh, there we go. Okay,
Okay.
good. Okay, so from the main screen, if you pick services for libraries, that will get you to a menu where you can choose library certification from underneath that professional development heading. And now this is the certification page for the Indiana State Library. It is a little bit separate website from the main ISL website, which is that the main ISL website goes through the State Office of Technology for changes, and we try to keep this one up to date with changes so often that we have a way we can put those in ourselves. Anyway, the very top of the certification page where it says here, that is a link directly to the portal. And there you go, that's the portal. Before we sign in, we're gonna talk a little bit about what you can do while you're still, before you ever log in, or even if you never log in. Starting with the lower left-hand corner under certification resources, you can get to under information about certification. That's going to take you back to the certification page we just saw. Under guide to using the certification portal, that is a one-page guide that gives step-by-step instructions for many of the features that we're going to demonstrate today, and possibly also for a couple of features that we aren't going to demonstrate. But keep that in mind if you ever get stuck, that there are instructions embedded right there. This shows up on, I believe, every screen of the portal. And then we're going to look at contact and support. And if you click on contact us, that basically is going to allow you to send an email to me. So definitely if your question is about certification, you know, what level you're eligible for, or why you can't find your certificate when you log in, if that's an issue, and I'll explain some of that later. But if you have questions that are substantive about certification, feel free and contact me. Based on my description earlier of myself as not quite a Luddite, but at least a digital immigrant, there may be times when it's very clear to you that what you're dealing with is some kind of glitch or virus, or not virus, bug that has entered into the system. For example, if you have set up your registration in the portal and you get an email telling you to log in back into the portal to confirm something, and if you get an immediate response saying you waited too long, that's probably not something I'm going to be able to fix, but that is a good reason to open a support ticket. What I can do is check if you are not sure what email address to log in, or especially if you no longer have access to the email address that we have on file, then it makes sense to contact me and let me know what email address you want me to put in there for you so that you can log in using your current email address. So there are opportunities for us to help out with this process. Okay, so that's what's at the bottom. Then the next thing we're going to do is click on register for an account. And we're not going to actually do that because Kara already has an account. So we don't need to do that, but we're just showing you what that looks like. And it's an opportunity for me to mention, why don't you go back for just a second, that before you fill this out and put your name in, if you're not sure what name we have on record for you, you might want to look yourself up on the public lookup feature, which we're going to cover next, or even use the name that's on your certificate if you have access to your certificate, because if you put in a name that's different from the name we have on file for you, you're going to create a new record rather than opening your existing record. And the new record you create is not going to have your credentials attached to it. So it's not going to serve your purpose to do that. And I guess just a word about middle names. I know that we put middle name as one of the questions on our application. So most of you have filled that out at some time or another. But I just want to let you know that just because you put your middle name on your application doesn't necessarily mean that we put that into the system when we entered you into the system. I tend to think the simplest is best. And I mostly use middle names when there are multiple people with the same last name, when a name is so popular that we have more than one of them. We do have about maybe 3 sets of librarians who share names. And for those, I definitely put in middle initial or middle name, and so we can keep them straight. And then also we, if you just have a very popular last name, I am more inclined to put the middle initial in, because even if we don't have someone with your first name yet, we could get one in the future. So that is what you need to know about names. And the same thing is really true for email addresses, that you want to use the email address that we have on file for you. And the way you know that is by that very first letter we sent out. We sent that to the email address we had on file for you. Some of you who did not get that email saw our announcement on the listserv about it and let me know that you needed a new email address added to your current record before you could log into your current record. So, okay, now we're going to talk about the public lookup feature. There was a place on the professional licensing agency where people could check to see who had an active certificate and who didn't. And so we have replicated that. This is public information, and it's under this tab that says verify status under the site menu. You don't need to log in because it's public access information. That means anyone can look you up and you can look anyone up. You are not limited to checking your own record here. You are, after you sign into the portal, you will only have access to your own record. So now you might be wondering, what information can they get about me? And I will tell you, actually, Cheri, if you want to go ahead and look yourself up first, we can show you what that looks like. Well, we've actually changed Cheri's name for this demonstration so that you can see what it looks like to change her name back. So you just put in first and last name and click search, and that is all you need to do. And I can tell you that the majority of people who have contacted me saying I can't find myself in the public lookup, the reason is that they put in too much information. So I really encourage you to just use first and last name and not additional information, because maybe you've moved since you got your last certificate and you put down your current city. But if you never told us about that move, we don't have your current city and you won't find your record based on looking in that city. So the less information, the broader the search. And if you turn up too many people with your name, you can always add information to sort that out a little bit. Okay, go ahead and click on your name at the bottom to open that record, and then people can see this is the information that we have on, that we make available publicly for you. So it has your address, but only city, state, and zip code, not your street address. It has your county of residence. And for both of these, address and county of residence, for most people, that is going to be of residence, although there are still a few people who are have only given us their library address in their applications. And it used to be most people, we used library addresses, even if we had your home address. So we have been converting, changing that, switching that over years of time. And so it's possible it could be under your library's address instead of your address. Anyway, it also shows your type of certificate, your classification, your job classification, the status of your certificate, and if your original search allowed for all under status. If you have certificates that have been superseded or expired or become null and void when you applied for a different type of certificate, those will show up as well. But the current most active one will be at on the top of that listing. So you may find certificates for people that are expired or not active for a number of reasons. Okay, when the certificate was issued, when it expires, and the method is going to say application unless you are under a grandfathered certificate. And if that's the case, it will say grandfathered under application. If you are a department head or a director or an HR person and you want a record of somebody's certificate, you can see there's a link there for you to click on a print that friendly version, and then you can print that off if you need that for your personnel files or something like that. Okay. Now we're going to show a couple of other things that you can do in this feature. So if you take out your name, one other thing to do is to use this to look for a cross section of people. Well, before I do that, I'm going to say that if you're looking for someone else and you're not sure whether or not their middle name is part of their record with us, I would say don't use the middle name, because that would narrow your search rather than widening it. And I think if you use just first and last name, it will still pull up your record, even if your record has a middle name on it, I believe. Also, I generally do not use the exact box, which you can check off if it's if you have the exact spelling of the name. And I would suggest, even if you're looking yourself up, you don't necessarily want to check off that exact box, because even though you definitely know how to spell your name correctly, that does not guarantee that we entered your name in the system correctly. So I am finding that there has been some user error, and I've had at least one person contact me saying, could you please correct the spelling of my name, which I gladly did. So it is these are some of the reasons people screen out too much information and maybe can't find themselves. Now, the second thing we can look at is doing like a cross-section type of search, not looking for an individual, but let's say maybe you want to look up your staff without searching each name individually. You could get many of those people if you put in either the city or the county where your library is. So
You want to do county or city?
you could do county, you could do Marion County if you want. And we'll see how many people that brings up. It'll be a lot. If you scroll to the bottom, it's more than 10 pages of people at about 18 people per page. So you may not want to wade through all those, but the thing to know, if you maybe are in a smaller county and think this would be a good way for you to search for your people, it is, but you should know that it is both over-inclusive and under-inclusive. It's over-inclusive because this list will include certified librarians who don't work at your library, who either are not currently working at a library or maybe they work at a library in a different county. It will also not include people who do work at your library but live in another county. So if that's the case, you might want to search your surrounding counties too to see if you find any familiar names there. And also, as those of you who live on a state border know, you may also have librarians who live in other states, in neighboring states. So it's not a perfect system for doing that, but it can shorten the number of searches you have to do if you search this way instead of by name, by typing in each name of each person that works for you. So that's one opportunity, one option. The other thing that you could do is maybe you have a job opening and you want to just hit clear on that. And then, so maybe you have a job opening and you just want to see who might already have the appropriate certification for that job opening. So you might type in librarian certificate for, click on the librarian certificate there, and then type 4 under level. Wait. Yep.
Sorry.
You'll get thousands if you just put librarian certificate in, thousands and thousands. Okay. And then let's say you want to do active on status. So go ahead and click search on that. And you can see, if you scroll down a bit, that you get more than 10 pages at about 18 a page. So that doesn't narrow things down for you a lot. But then if you want to narrow it down a little bit more, if you put in let's see how many you get if you limit that search by county and put in Monroe County. Now you've got it down to 1. So that's another way you might consider looking at some of this. Okay, now we are going to have Cheri log in. It takes just a little while to load up. And there you go. So the various things we're going to do on this tour are all listed under the site menu there. Let's see. We are going to start with manage account. This is going to be how you update your information if you have information to update. Then you would click on account profile. We're not going to show you how to change your password because Cheri doesn't need to change your password, but you just follow the instructions if you do that. Okay, but gosh, that's not really Cheri's middle name now, last name now. So it's time, let's see what happens when you try to change that. The first thing you do is click on the, go back 1 second.
Okay.
So at the bottom, it says edit account information. So you're going to click on that. And when you do that, the account information is really your name. And so when you want to do a name change, we make you jump through an extra hoop than we do for all the other changes for some good reasons. You know, part of it is security. We want to make sure that you are the person changing your name. Part of it is record keeping. We want to make sure that we have a written request from you asking to change your name. And you can go ahead and do your name change information if you want. So we have added these to the right as name change requirements, and up above is a little bit of an explanation. The reason we are doing this, oh, and date of change, just so you know, that is intended to be the date that your name changed, not the date that you submit the request to us. I think most of the ones I've gotten so far have been more along the lines of people putting that day's date in. But and then for reason of change, we don't need a lot of information. Usually it's divorce, marriage, or court order are the kinds of things we are looking for there. And then identifying information, what we're looking for here is something that not everyone knows about you, but that we would be able to verify by looking in your file. So a piece of information that is on your application, or a piece of information that's on your transcript if you had to submit a transcript to get your certification. So it might be your major, your specialty, your year of graduation. You do not have to answer all of those questions, as long as you answer at least one of them so that we can verify that that's you. Okay, so go ahead and update your account. Oh, okay. So, you know, this is a little glitchy thing that we may need to address, but the date of change here has to be since the portal started, apparently. So Cheri's going to make up a date there for that so that she can save that. Okay. And then this little box that is red tells you that a requested name change has been submitted for approval. And the information that's in blue is not going to take effect in your record until it is approved. So every day I check a list of librarians who have made changes. Well, every work day, I check a list of librarians who have requested changes to their information. And I go through and almost always approve those unless there's just not enough information for me to validate that the person requesting the change is the same person as the person who has the record. And that might be because the information isn't matching up, that I can tell how it makes sense. So anyway, and if that's an issue, I will email someone if they've requested a name change and for some reason I haven't done it. That doesn't happen very often, but okay, so your account has been updated. It's waiting for that change. And now if you look across the top of this screen, you see there are tabs for different pieces of information. So Kara is going to check her address and she's going to edit that because that's her old address, not her current address. And I'm just going to tell you right now, I do not need a reason why you moved. So that's good. It is easier to correct all the other information that we keep for you. So, however, we do still need to approve it before it takes effect in the system. And I just want to explain the reason why, and you can keep going, you can update that and then go to phone if you want and check that.
Oh, I put it in the wrong thing. Hang on.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. So the address 1 and address 2, I have had a couple people fill out both of those with the exact same information. We don't need that. Address 2 is like if you're in a building and you have another line, you know, maybe you require more information in order for the post office to deliver something to you, or even if you want to put a PO box in one and your address in the other, that's fine, but you do not need to use address 2, just address 1 is necessary. And the reason it doesn't update automatically, again, is because I will need to go in and approve that. And it's not, I just kind of want to explain, it's not that I have a power hungry for control over your information. It is that this database works in conjunction with a couple of other databases that Jeremy manages. And it's sort of just a screening mechanism to make sure that nothing happens that will impact the other databases without, it'll give me a warning if it's an update that I can't make, so that I can contact him and we can work out how they need to work together. So that's why you do that. And then go ahead and do phone. And here, Kara has her current office phone here, which is great. One thing she can do is add a new number. And the reason that you might want to do that is because if you leave that job and you forget to notify us, then we would still have a way to contact you. And you can still keep your office number, the primary number, which tells us that's the one you want us to use when we contact you. But it just means that you have a backup for the event we can't contact you anymore through your employer. And then the same thing is really true with email. Kara has her work email here. And I would encourage you to go ahead and put in a personal email address if you don't mind. And if you mind, you don't have to, but we occasionally have directors who maybe retire after a long and fruitful career, but they don't notify us how to contact them after they've retired. And if you put this in as a backup, you can still leave the business one primary if you want, but it means that when the primary email bounces back because you're no longer there, we have another option we can try of a personal email address. So it's a good idea if you can help us by creating those kind of fail-safe opportunities for us to follow you when you go. And then that confirmation email is going to be sent. You will still need to confirm that address, but you won't want to log in from that address unless after you confirm it, you have switched the primary label from the work address to the personal address. And you can do that after you confirm. So that that is the account profile information that we have so far. I just want to mention, because we have had some people try to do this, that it won't work to just set up a new account with your new name, because your credentials are still associated with the account under your previous name. So it works much better for all of us if you log into the active account and request a name change. And also that allows that gives me the information I need to know I should go pull your file and change the name on your file too. We do still have paper files for everyone, and that is because we keep your transcripts in there or your applications. And if you are in the process of doing a temporary permit, we keep your 10 LEUs in there with each temporary permit, each time you renew your temporary permit. So there we are. Okay, so now you want to go back out to home. And one big change between the system we used to use and the current system is that the professional licensing agency sent out printed certificates through the mail to everyone who was given a certificate. We do not do that. We decided, as part of making this system our own and taking control over everything, that we could save a lot of time and money if we have you print out your own certificate. So when your certificate is approved, it is created in the system, or maybe it's not actually created until you click on proof of status, but you can access it by clicking on proof of status.
Hang on just a second, Cheri. If you accidentally create an account, can they delete it? Or do you have to?
I have to delete it for you. Or the other thing I can do is I can merge the two accounts, which I have been going through and doing sort of systematically. And usually if there's been an election of different name or email address, usually I go ahead and email that person and let them know the account, the information we had on the account, the information they submitted, which created a second account, and that I have merged that information and then the information they can use to log into the system after that merger.
Okay. Is that also true for an expired account?
You can update information in an expired account, I believe. Actually, if it is expired but not yet expired non-renewable, you can still renew your certificate online. That's generally if it hasn't been expired for very long. But if you have any questions or concerns about that, you can also just contact me and ask. So yes, for an expired account, it will stay in our system inactive pretty much, for the very long term, I would say. Maybe not till the end of time, but we do not have a program of systematically deleting expired accounts. Even when we are notified that someone has passed away, we go in and make sure that our system won't send any more information to that person, but we don't delete the whole account usually. I would just make a note. We have a little space for notes, and I would make a note of that. Okay. Oh, actually, oh yeah, go ahead and do proof of status. So when your certificate has been approved, I generate a little message to you telling you your certificate has been approved, and it gives you a link, I believe, to get back into the system and to so that you can print out. It's a reminder that you have to print out your own certificate now, and it will take you to how to do that. So Kara just clicked on the certificate that downloaded, and she opened it. Now she can print it out if she wants to. She can save it to her desktop if she wants to, whatever she wants to do with it. So that is where you find your information. And that is under proof of status. So we did manage account. What we haven't done at this point is a renewal or invoices. And the reason is because Kara's certificate isn't up for renewal right now. So it says there are no certifications available for renewal at this time. And I do get emails from people sometimes asking if why they don't have any certificates show up here. Here, you will only get certificates that are eligible for renewal online. And that means it is within the quarter that your certificate expires. So, but if it's more than 3 months before your expiration date, you won't be able to renew it online until it's only 3 months before your expiration date and you're in the same quarter as your expiration date. Because we don't do early renewals, so we turn them on and off. And also we do, with to the extent that we have a current email address for you, we do send out a notice reminding you to renew and when your renewal is due. So far, actually, if you want to go back to homepage here, and you'll see that we have listed here exactly what things you can do in the portal right now. Update your contact information, renew a 5-year certificate online, and look up the status of any librarian permit or certificate. What you can't do online at this moment is upgrade a certificate, submit an initial, your very first time you apply for a 5-year certificate, you can't do that online at this point in time. And the reason is a person needs to look over your information and verify what level of certificate you qualify for, and just clarify any information that we may need and don't have. So the processes that require a person to evaluate, do you now qualify for a higher level of certificate? Those currently are still handled through the mail, which means you still need to pay by mail for those things. And to temporary permits, because you have to submit a personal statement of progress and your 10 LEUs, those are not done online at this point either. Okay, I see that question about college courses, and the answer to that is not as simple as yes or no. The answer to that is, if you have a temporary permit and you are working toward a certificate, a 5-year certificate, the courses you take, because they are required by that certificate, do not also count as LEU. They are going to count towards your certification. If you are perhaps needing to get an LC4, but you are also in library school for a master's degree, and you take courses that are not part of the LC4 required courses, you can use those courses that are not required for your certificate toward LEUs. And if you have a 5-year certificate already and you are taking more library science courses for any reason, yes, you may count those for LEUs. Okay, so we are almost ready to switch over to questions and answers. But before we do, Kara, if you stop sharing your screen, I'm going to just give you a little bit of a picture. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you this. Okay, now just everybody see that?
I do.
Great. This is, when Kara clicked on renew this, and you got the message, there are no certificates to renew. This is what it looks like if somebody does have a certificate to renew, just so you know. This was kind of a tricky thing for me to be able to demonstrate because I don't have a certificate that I could use. Kara's certificate isn't due for renewal yet. And only you can access that screen for yourself. So I can't access this particular screen for you. I guess Jeremy can if he needs to, but so this is what you see if you have that. And then I'm just going to show you a little slideshow of what I'm going to try and show you a little slideshow of what that looks like. There we go. It's just going to flip through the stages. So when you press renew certification, it's going to give you the next It's not working. There we go. Now it's going fast. Let's see if we can try that again. Okay, so this is the next screen you would see after you clicked the button that's highlighted there. This is the next screen. This is telling you you're going to pay your invoice. Then it's taking you to your invoice or giving you a link to get to your invoice. And then it's telling you you're going to pay by credit card. And then this is what the credit card service we use, what their account looks like. So that is what I wanted to share there. And Jeremy had the good sense to just create a little test module I could share. And now, let's see. I need to unshare my screen. I know that. Here we go. Oh, good. My screen sharing is paused. Thank you. I'm going to stop, share, and here we are. What are your questions? So do we have any questions waiting in the chat?
Hang on 1 second. Let's see. So the renewal wouldn't post until after the payment goes through, correct? Or that it would post after the payment.
Okay, so when you do a renewal, you have to pay before it becomes active. But I believe once you've submitted payment, it becomes active. Jeremy, feel free and jump in here. You are more familiar with the payment module than I am. I don't think that we wait on your credit card payment to clear. I think it just has to be successfully submitted.
All we need is a confirmation from the payment processor that it completed. Once we have that confirmation, then it immediately creates the certificate after payment, and if everything else is in order.
Great, thank you. Okay, I did see a question go by about
how do we submit the proof of continuing ed, the TLEUs and the LEUs?
Okay, so for years and years and years, there was a rule of thumb, never send certificates to the Indiana State Library unless you receive notice of an audit. That changed in 2017. And now only if you have a temporary permit, when you renew the temporary permit, you are required to include certificates that show that you have attended 10 LEUs while your certificate was in effect. So if you have a 5-year certificate, you keep all that information in your LEU file for that certificate. You must keep that information for 90 days after your certificate expires. And if you haven't heard from us in that 90 days, you can get rid of that information and you're starting over on your new, filing your certificates for your new certificate, for your new librarian certificate. So if you have a 5-year certificate, you don't ever send LEU information certificates to us unless we contact you and say that you have been randomly selected for an audit. Then we give you instructions to send your certificates in. If you have a temporary certificate, when you renew, the 2 times you renew, you need to submit 10 LEUs with it. Gosh, Kara, can you go back to our website?
Yes.
I just want to show you that there is a 1-page document on our certification website that tells you exactly what you need to submit with every single kind of application you submit, not the guide. Yes, perfect. Okay, so if you scroll down here, under what do I include with my application, there is a very detailed checklist that breaks down each type of certificate and exactly what you have to submit. And it also lists under the ones that can be renewed online, it lists renew online or send. So everything you could want to know about what should be with your application will be right here. Okay, and there's also there's a series of reminders at the top of the screen, including sign your certificate before you send it. That is our most frequent error, is people send me certificates or applications. People send me applications that have not been signed. So just that's an important step. Let's see.
Christine asked if, she said you may have covered this, but the new increased LEU, TLEU requirements are required now.
Yes, right now there's everyone who is, oh wait, this depends, and this is explained also on the, not on the certification page, but there's another page you can get to from the certification page called the LEU policies on LEU page that lays out who needs to do that and who doesn't. Right now, it is people who renewed. It only applied to people who have a certificate that started after 2017. If your certificate date is of your current certificate, not your initial certificate, but your current date, if you last renewed before January 1, 2017, you do not need 20, you need 10. If your current certificate started after January 1, 2017, you, oh, I'm sorry, you know what? It's actually under renewal, which is maybe a link at the bottom of certification. Sorry. It's in there. It is in there. Okay. So, and if you are uncertain about this, you can always ask me, but the dates are there. I think at the very bottom, keep going down, scrolling down. Just, okay, I'm not, okay, right there where it says certificate renewals and library education. Okay. And that should list, it's not on here, it is on, yeah, can you go back up to the top? Well, anyway, this information is positively, definitely in our certification manual of the date. Oh, here it is right there. Nope, that's not it. Under renewing a 5-year certificate. I think it says, but we'll keep going. How does the state contact us to let us know we have been selected for a random audit? I will, not I, the system chooses you and the system will send you an email, a letter by email. And that is how we notify you. If I haven't heard anything back from you and it's getting close to the date that your information is required, then I would probably try to contact you to make sure you saw that email. It is great if you can get our email, the library, the state library, my email address, and possibly emails that come from the system. If you can get those in your email address book so that we don't get put into your junk mail file or your, then that's helpful. Okay, let's see. You want to go ahead and talk about this?
Hang on one second. Let's see.
Or I can look for another question.
Okay, I sent in my application for my initial 5-year certificate a few weeks ago, but haven't heard anything from ISL. If I create an account now, spoiler alert, I already did, will it get merged with what you already have on file?
Yeah, so the first piece of information is, yes, I am a little bit behind on approving certifications. I've had probably hundreds of questions about using the new portal. I mean, I told you earlier, 500 people have used it, even if 1 in 5 of them has called me, and probably more than that. Generally what I will do is I will search to see if we have any records for you. And I do have new records for a number of people that don't yet have certificates that have been approved. And when I do approve your certificate, I will search for your name first to make sure that I'm using, it probably won't require a merger because I'll use the record that you have started and I'll add your information to it. But if for some reason I don't see that you started a record and I start another one, you know, I will, when it comes to my attention, which is if they come up next to each other, then I will merge them. If they have such different information, if your application and your information in the system are so different that I don't quite understand what's going on there, then I will probably email you some questions before I merge them. Let's see.
All right, let's see. There was hang on just a second.
Can the library pay the cost of certification for the staff? The answer for that is the library cannot pay the cost out of its operating budget. The budget agency has said that the ISL is not allowed to accept payment from a library's operating budget for certification. So because of that, you must submit a check that is either from an unrestricted gift account or from your friends of organization. And if you do submit a check that's been drawn on your unrestricted gift account, you must submit something in writing telling me that that's what that check is, because when I see a check with a library name on that, I won't know that. We need to keep a written documentation of what account it was drawn on in order for us to deposit that check. So if you don't include that written documentation, I will email you asking for it.
Okay, we have 2 minutes left, Cheri. So do you want to answer the rest of the questions like in a follow-up email, or do you want to keep going? I'm not sure.
Sure, we can, you know, I am going to,
I added your email to the chat
okay.
in case they have questions. I went ahead and put the certificate request form link, and there were a few questions that we didn't answer. Here's one. How does the state contact us to let us know if we have been selected for a random audit? Email, letter, phone call?
And so it is a letter that is now sent by email. In the past, it was sent by mail, but it's now sent by email. So check your spam folders occasionally, or add us to your email address, or make us, sometimes you can designate something as a safe site so that you get email. I have a lot of people give me an email address, but then they don't accept my emails when I send them to them. So it's helpful if you are able to receive our emails, especially because now we will be communicating almost exclusively by email, whereas we did used to send certain things by mail. Okay, so I think we will look through other questions and either respond to them individually, or if they're generally applicable, I will put together a list of Q&As to send out to everyone on the call. And
You want to open the chat window before this closes.
open the chat window before.
In the center of the screen underneath the top, that box, it's popping up. Comments. Yeah, right there. If you scroll up a little.
Like
This
here?
is why I like the mouse. There you go. Whoops. And that's what you need to fill out to get your LEU.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, well, I have added the LEU certificate request form right here. This is the link. If you would like to go ahead and copy and paste that into your browser, you could go ahead and get that filled out. I also added Cheri's email. Hang on to the chat. Here it is, as well as another link to the request form. And if there are any questions that you think of after this or are in the chat that we didn't answer, be sure and contact Cheri or even myself, and I'll pass it on to her. But if there are any questions that didn't get answered, we'll make sure they do. Hang on just a second. All right.
Okay.
Everyone's
well,
saying thank you now.
This is the conclusion of our tour of the librarian certification portal. And we thank you very much for joining us and look forward to talking with you soon. Goodbye.